Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ubuntu Touch Q&A, the UBports Foundation show discussing the development of Ubuntu Touch and our community's questions. This is episode 91, streamed live on December 19th, 2020. We have an excellent roundup of questions from our community and a bit of a retrospective show today. I took a look through the highlights of 2020, of which there weren't many in general, but there were a lot for us. And compiled them all. We're going to talk a little bit about those today. For that, we're going to reorder the show a bit. We're going to start with the questions and feedback, see how that feels, and then we'll head into the meat of the whole thing. It seems to work out for other shows, so I'll try this. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week are Florian.
Hello.
And Alfred.
Hello.
I didn't forget this time. And a big hello to everyone who is watching this on the replay or listening to the audio version. We appreciate you. You should contact us sometime. Let us know what you think of the show. We don't hear from people much except for live chat.
True.
So why don't we start off right away with some questions this week? But first, if you want to see if your device is supported by Ubuntu Touch, you like what we're talking about, you like our answers to your questions, head over to devices.ubuntu-touch.io. If your device isn't on the list, it's going to need a custom image made for it. You can go to the porting documentation at docs.ubports.com to learn more. You can grab our excellent UBports installer to install Ubuntu Touch on your supported device and try it out. Let us know what you think. We begin this week with a question from Johnny, who says, Marius mentioned that he documented how to build the Lomiri stack in the last Q&A. Are these notes available somewhere already? Unfortunately, Johnny, they are not. I've seen glimpses of the notes so far, of like the homepage. What it is a description of the dependencies that the Lomiri has and what each of them does. But I've really only seen that overview page. I haven't got these notes in depth yet, unfortunately. Which is disappointing, but, you know, knowing the situation, I can excuse some lateness on this one. Florian, next.
Yeah. Equaero, I hope I pronounced this correctly, wants to know the latest stable image PinePhone. The latest stable PinePhone image is from 18th September from 2020. When is the release candidate reaching stable? Oh well.
Right. So the PinePhone has a different release cadence than all of our other devices, of which we released a stable update this week. We'll get to that in a moment. I suppose there's really no reason why I can't ship a stable PinePhone image right now that I'm thinking about it.
Push the button now.
Well, not like right now.
No. We don't release on shows, do we?
Sometimes. Yeah, I was kind of waiting to do more of the kernel work and actually get things done for the PinePhone. But really, now that I think about it, there are improvements in the RC channel that aren't in the stable channel, and I don't believe there are any big regressions, so like there's no reason not to release it. Ooh. It's just been so... I know this is the excuse that everyone gives, especially this year, but it's just been so busy that I haven't even considered. Like, it's basically been this revolving train of get the OTA done, get the OTA done, get the OTA done. Oof. Yeah. So
yeah,
let's consider releasing something
the
there.
Push it.
Maybe talk about it this week. Not today or tomorrow, because I kind of want to take a weekend off. Alfred, you want to head on to the next one?
Yep. The best 3000 asks, how many people are working on Ubuntu Touch full time, and who are those?
Who are those people? Right now we have a full-time. We have a full-time team of 4 people strong. Someone mentioned 5 people somewhere, and I'm kind of afraid because I don't know who the 5th person is.
It's the ghost.
Oh yeah.
Have we hired a ghost? It is myself, Marius, Rodney, and Rachanan are contracted in a full. How do you say this right, Florian? Contracted at a very high capacity.
No, well, it's not. Yeah, we don't employ people at the foundation because we're not allowed by tax laws and social insurance and so on and so on. But I think you can say to be hired still.
I can.
It would
Okay,
apply for
I was
both,
worried.
No.
Right.
Hire is okay. It doesn't specify the terms and conditions.
Okay.
Don't say employed. Say contracted or hired.
Okay. Yeah. See, Florian's been sending out new employment contracts, so we've been messing with terminology a lot the past few weeks.
When the developer puts off the developer hat and puts on the administrative and legal hat, and
I'm sorry, Florian, but also
I'm not going there now. We're on live show. Just saying. So basically, that was possible since we had our foundation officially approved, so that we are also allowed to make contracts and pay out donation money on invoices by contractors and by freelancers, and that was a great thing. So that's actually, without that, we would have had a problem with distributing the money sooner or later, because it need to be on a legal term, and that can only be done with a company, which costs much more money and has a lot of other disadvantages, or this foundation construct that we now have, and it's okay. Yeah?
Which is difficult to bring up, but we're going to see the benefits.
We are still in the ramping up phase. It's slow.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to be fair, it's German bureaucracy, so like I don't know why we expected anything different.
Yeah.
The best had another question.
Yeah, exactly. There was another one, and it is: which device and how would be the best way to test the convergence feature?
Ooh.
Right. Terminology.
Yeah.
So, convergence is now an overused term that everyone has defined differently, so we should probably find a new term for it. But to us and to Canonical before us, it meant running the same code base everywhere. The same app runs on your phone, runs on your tablet, runs on your laptop.
Yeah, in this case, you could say that it's not only the phone application, but also the phone shell is convergent.
Right. And that is why Lomiri is the operating environment for everywhere. And we can't call it a desktop environment.
No. It's an environment.
So what you might mean is this idea of external display or PC in your pocket, is what most people are asking about when they say convergence. One, I can probably say you will most likely be disappointed by PC in your pocket, but you can try it out on the Nexus 5, most commonly, with a slim port adapter, which plugs into the USB port, lets you charge, and does HDMI out to your monitor. Other ways to do it, there are some phones which support wireless display, so you can use a Microsoft wireless display adapter, only that one, to cast your display out, but that has latency implications and doesn't always work the best either. Overall, it's like PC in your pocket has always kind of been a party trick, and every attempt at doing it hasn't been terribly successful. So I don't know. We talk about it, but it's more of like a party trick. Yeah, I'm getting down on it. It is a cool party trick, but you know, I don't want people going into it thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna run GIMP on my phone," kind of thing, and have the good video editing experience or whatever they have to do in their daily life. Maybe we'll get there someday, but we aren't there yet.
Right.
So, Lionel wants to know, with the upcoming Qt 5.12 upgrade, will Ubuntu Touch support the official Python bindings, PySide 2? Well, I'm not a Python guy, but maybe somebody can answer that.
Well, I sure am. I
you see the
took a look
guy
into
jumping
what
up.
I took a look into what we're building for Qt 512, and PySide 2 is not one of those things. We are still building PyOtherSide, which would retain support for our current applications. But PySide is something that we're going to need to think about more, because it is a new binding and it is a new thing to support. And it's like, are we able to take that on? Maybe, maybe not. Needs more discussion, but no, it does not appear that we have PySide 2 going into the image with 512 just automatically.
Yeah.
Dad and Alive had a question this week. Sounds like a joke Florian would make. Florian, is this you?
Thank you. I'm into dad jokes now because I'm a dad.
Yeah. As an end user, I'm more and more confronted with semi-necessary apps that I can't install on my smartphone, as they are only available for the 2 mobile operating systems that the world seems to know about. Used to be only WhatsApp, and I actually owe Ubuntu Touch a debt of gratitude for that. But now I also note increased pressure from utility providers like banks, phones, insurance, and electricity to make use of their dedicated apps. The recent state-developed COVID-19 tracking apps are another example. How do you experience this? Have you already persuaded some business app developers to open up? And are there reasons to hope for a more Ubuntu Touch-friendly app future? What do you guys think?
Tough question. So regarding the talks, no, we did not talk with Facebook or with local banks or so if they want to do that. I think there are many things that are wrong in the current app ecosystem for the big operating systems. One of them is that apps are always for free. So basically, you cannot get around the fact that if you have an app in a store, you have a download. Yeah, people expect it to be free, and I think companies they wouldn't put the money on an app that actually it's not on their main I don't know. The main number of users would use it because they have to invest money, they have to maintain it, they have to have developers that know how it works. It might be a different thing for services where people have to pay something. Let's say, for example, Spotify. I could say, okay, we could approach Spotify to say, look, if you put your app into our store, you would have more users that can use it, and they are actually paying for this because it would be, for example, a premium app, where you need the login and the contract. But I think other than that, if you look for, I don't know, Facebook or WhatsApp, why they should bother? Because they don't earn any money with that, and there are so few users using Ubuntu Touch now that you don't see this. It's just below the noise. With millions and millions of users, what can we do when we have a few, I don't know, 10,000 or so? So, I mean, you can try it. Go to your favorite app supplier of your choice, company, and ask a support if they would do this. And I don't know if they would even write back. Maybe they do. But if you do such a thing, let us know what's your experience with that.
We have had people do this in the past. It registers interest in these things and registers value for the company. So that is important.
If you put it in the right way. So that's you have to sell it actually.
Don't be mean about it or anything.
Particularly interesting was the response from Telegram, because Telegram was already at the time of Canonical was the messenger that was on board, and while they did not comment on if they would put effort into actually building the app, they have always been supporting us for taking questions and also with push services and so on. So if you find the right people to talk with, obviously there is something that can be done. But to be honest, also with our small marketing and public relations team, it's really hard to make coordinated efforts to, I don't know, go to 200 companies around the planet and start these talks, because they will need time and you have to follow up, you have to poke them from time to time. You have to have good marketing presentation. Well, things like that.
That sound was my cat sneezing. This has always been something that's interesting to me because it just echoes so much like the Linux desktops. Just the repeated discourse for the Linux desktop. It's, well, we don't have X apps, so we can't get more users. It's like, well, why not? There'll always be X app that isn't available, which prevents people from using Ubuntu Touch. If that's the killer app for a platform, then, well, people aren't going to move over. There are other things that make people use Linux than the app availability. There are intangible benefits that people experience. I mean, realistically, functionally, Mac OS or Windows would be much better for my workflow. The intangibles that Linux gives me are actually what keeps me on it. It's not the license, no. It's not that it's free. It's just the way it works better with my mind. That's the kind of thing that we need to offer, since we, for all intents and purposes, can't offer more apps. Another thing that kind of changes the game in my mind is that, an Android phone is this big, whereas like another computer to run Windows is this big. So it's like you can keep one of these around, not necessarily carry it with you everywhere, but have it in your house. So, as a utility like that, for things like you need to pay your bill, you can't do it via mail anymore. You have to do it via an app because we live in dystopia. It's more possible to handle that situation than it is with a desktop computer, at least. But still, it is an interesting discussion, one that comes up every few months, and I hope that I haven't made anyone too angry by answering it. I need to let my cat out of the room. I will cut this out of the final.
But actually, when on his last question, he is partially giving the answer already. There are, of course, reasons to hope that we will get a more UT-friendly app future. It's just that this is a very, very long process. And in the beginning, it seems very slow. In the beginning, you think nothing is changing. But I think that we will be seen and heard much better if we have recent devices that are being sold. We have no devices that are being pre-installed. That was also one of these small bits and pieces. Before we talk about app ecosystem, we should also talk about the hardware that these apps are using. So when we have a Volaphone, when we have a PinePhone and those things coming, people can buy it in a store. It will be much more interesting also for users that want a new device, that don't want to install it manually and break crazy things with it. But after that has been achieved, then we can slowly go into thinking, okay, now we have the hardware that we want. Everybody can buy it in the store. What's going to happen with it? What we do put on it? Yeah.
Basically, the argument that Linus Torvalds himself would make or has made in the past for desktop Linux to succeed, it needs to pre-installs.
And it needs to be pre-installed.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
And actually, he was partially true with that. I mean, the success was better after some companies started to deliver same hardware with two choices. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Rodney makes a good point in the Telegram group. That's why we have QEMU and KVM, VirtualBox, Proton, Andbox, and everything on PCs too. And even with all those, people say, "Oh, I can't use Linux. It doesn't have the apps I need." So, we'll always hit the situation of doesn't have the apps I need. We just need to provide the intangibles that make people want to use the system, regardless.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take it. We have so much to get into. Let's take a moment and let's thank our sponsors, including our business sponsors, Smooths, Vala, Pine64, and Private Internet Access. Huge thank you to all of you for helping it, for making it possible for us to make Ubuntu Touch. I'd also like to thank our community sponsors, including Dan Trevino, Robin Hood, Kurt Vaughn, Laszlo Tomas, Darren Olson, James H. Jackson Jr., Max Fielder, A. Thiel, Michael Dale Meyer, Casey Lambie, George Toma, Renan Mirkalev, Will Atwood, and Scott Marley for helping us out on Patreon in the community sponsor level. It really is helpful to especially see all these people who are willing to publicly help us out, as well as everyone who does it behind the scenes and donates via PayPal Bankwire or PayPal or Bankwire or LibrePay. It's extremely helpful to and reassuring to see that people are behind us all the way on this. And it makes it possible for us to do things like hire four full-time developers.
Imagine some
to
fire
work on
emojis
Ubuntu
there.
Touch.
We are not firing anyone. We cannot afford
Yet.
firing people. We need you.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Oh,
Of course, thank you to everyone who is working with us. If you want to join any of those if you want to join them and donate to Ubuntu Touch, you can head over to ubports.com/donate. You like what we're talking about? Maybe you want to see it continue. We'd appreciate it. All right. Let's take some news. Let's do some news. Boy, this being in the opposite order thing is messing me up. How do I bridge out of the sponsors? Let's talk about some news this week, and let's talk about the most important. OTA 15 has been released.
yeah.
Ubuntu Touch OTA 15 came out on Wednesday. 6 weeks? I don't remember. Very soon after OTA 14. We actually hit our development cycle goals this time. Hooray.
Ooh.
It didn't exactly do what we wanted. We wanted to have Qt 5.12 in this release, but you know what? The Volophone took its place again, so we had to bump that. But that means the Volophone now has smooth audio playback without a bunch of pops and clicks all the time. The front camera is rotated correctly. It's got USSD codes fixed up, and so many more things happened on the Android 9 branches. Moving over to Morph Browser, it got better for everyone. You can now swipe away tabs in the tab interface, which feels really good and is awesome. And thank you, Alfred, for reviewing that. Thank you, Daniel, for submitting it. My goodness, it is just so nice. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes on MMS, like multimedia messaging service, which I know isn't very popular outside the US, but everyone comments on this every time we talk about it. It is very popular in the US. So now when you get an MMS message, you get errors instead of them just being silently dropped, which is better than before. And there's so much more in the work, both from Lionel and Jacek. And my goodness, it is looking good. And long overdue. There are fixes to Bluetooth car kits and headsets. You can now place calls from both of them, whereas before you tried to place a call, it would just get lost. You can now place the calls. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean that Bluetooth audio got better over them. So devices like the Nexus 5, where they just blow your eardrums out every time you make a Bluetooth call, that wasn't fixed. But, one step at a time. Ratchet made a Thai keyboard. So now people in Thailand or outside trying to speak to friends back home can speak their language and actually type it correctly. I tried to test it out, but I realized that I have no idea how the glyphs work. It's kind of like the Chinese input methods where things change as you continue to type them, which I just find so fascinating. And I'd like to give a small shout out to Lionel, who is Lionel B, who is writing the notes for this right now, so it's going to be really weird for him to thank himself in the notes. But he also helped edit our release notes, which was a huge help. We haven't had anyone complain about typos in there, which I do make them, and quite a lot of them. So he fixed me up, I guess. So huge thank you to Lionel. You don't get nearly enough praise for what you do.
True.
He watches these things and takes notes on them every 2 weeks. He's pretty awesome. All right. It's the end of the year. 2020 went way too fast and also not fast enough at all. There have been severe effects on people's memory this year, but feeling a little retrospective. I went back through everything and went, whoa, we did that this year? Or that was this year? That wasn't 2019? To kind of punctuate that, last year around this time, we were talking about Florian, were you at CCC? Jan and
No, actually, Jan
No.
was there, I think. Was he?
Jan
Jan
and
was, yeah.
someone else at Chaos Communication Congress. Jan gave 2 talks at CCC, one lightning and one regular size talk about Ubuntu Touch. OTA 12 was close to release. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. OTA 11, for context, released in October of 2019. People were asking a lot of questions about what our priorities would be after OTA 12. Some things really never change. And we ended off 2020, the final Q&A, by saying 2019. We ended off 2019 by saying 2020 will be a great year because for the first time we'll have new purpose-made hardware without any Android blobs. In addition to that, there are now vibrant communities involved in the development of many of the major elements we rely on for what we do. Without everything that Ubuntu and Debian have done, there would simply be no more Ubuntu Touch. And none of the projects building an operating system for the PinePhone, KDE, Postmarket OS, Plasma Mobile, or ourselves could have done so alone. We only succeeded because we worked together. The new decade will be a very exciting one, and a happy new year to all. Oh boy, did we ever get slammed with a new decade. But the sentiment still holds true. There's a lot that happened this year. And
Oh yeah, I think the forecast was not
because
bad.
we all worked together.
I think we kind of nailed it already then because we knew that those things would come up like that. And I would say it was really a very good year. It was maybe our best year since we started. And in the same time, because of all the other things, including Corona stuff and so, it was also a very bad year in some places or in some spots, yeah, where we still think that it feels like we're not moving at all, and in some places we're moving at light speed. So it's hard to balance all these different speeds that have built up. Yeah. And because because the community is growing, because the team was growing, it gets sometimes hard to scale it properly, I think. But let's get to that on a different point, because the year is not over yet. We have still 2 weeks to go, so don't talk too much about it. Don't
talk
spoil
like
it. I mean, it's the final Q&A for this year, so that's the thing. So we can be a little bit reflective on.
So let's talk about like what happened throughout the year and kind of go over, everything
Let's make a
that
roll-up.
happened. Like, remember some of these things.
So January 2020, we started to talk about Halium 7.1 for the core devices Nexus 5, Fairphone 2, and OnePlus One. And I don't want to go there now to see what we thought would be the ETA of that. Yeah. I started talking about the S3 Neo port, which is a 5.1 port, Halium 5.1, Samsung S3 Neo, which is also kind of just a few millimeters before the installer, but now it's hard stuck there. So, yeah, Halium 7.1 for the core device is still not landed. But there is one more thing that will go on. We have a hackathon in the Christmas holidays for the device ports. Maybe we can unblock 1 or 2 of them. Let's see.
I couldn't help but put that in. It's like, wow, we're still talking about this.
Yes.
That's what you're
That's
talking
one of
about.
the
Some
things,
things are
yeah.
going really fast and some things aren't.
You think in 1 year it would be possible to upgrade 3 devices, but no, it wasn't.
Yeah. Everything kind of felt like it moved really quickly these first couple of months.
Yeah.
In February, we went to FOSDEM and we took part in the Plasma Mobile Sprint. We had a show, Ubuntu Touch Q&A 69, don't say it, where we talked about Plasma Mobile and Ubuntu Touch working together. Now, of course, we have since then, but this is where the update your cute meme started. It's not funny anymore, and we also missed our chance to do it. Because many of the Qt apps that we were talking about running, or KDE apps that we were talking about running at that sprint, have now moved on from Qt 5.12. So, yeah, things happened this year. Quite a lot of them, and very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
It's not even 2 months over, and we started to lock down the whole world into
No,
home
we
offices
didn't.
and
We
other
didn't get there
spaces.
yet.
Oh no, yeah, really, true. Sorry.
Ubuntu Touch
I jumped
OTA
over
12
that,
entered RC this month, and that took a while to resolve. We'll talk about that more later. And that issue where I know that everyone who used Ubuntu Touch remembers this. The issue where you would open the keyboard and it would just be blank and you couldn't swipe it away was fixed.
Ooh,
Yeah,
true.
you just went, whoa. Yeah, that's right, that happened. I know you did. Don't lie to me,
Yeah.
viewer. Remember
Amazing.
that? Remember how terrible that was? Rajanan fixed it.
I think I
Praise
almost
Rajanan.
forgot it already. Big shout out to Rajanan. He is fixing things that nobody knows that can be fixed. That's really awesome.
So then, Florian, we kind of moved into March.
Yeah, now it's my March story for the early start. So March was lockdown time for most of the world, except maybe New Zealand and Australia. I don't know. Unity 8 was renamed to Lomiri, and that's also something that we will remember for some time, because also we had to go over kind of repositories and stuff and exchange it in various places. And up to now, I
still
think
doing it.
we're still changing Unity 8 to Lomiri, naming somewhere here and there. Foundation finally opened a bank account for direct donations. That was also kind of a ride, because banks are, of course, administrative
Banks. They're banks.
organizations that are banks. And
They're
while the
banks,
foundation
and
was already
banks.
existing,
So,
it was already existing for quite some time, but until we had all the paperwork together and we're proving that we're not laundering any money and such things, that they finally will accept us. And I was in March, a few days before lockdown, I was in Munich for signing all this paperwork with Jan, with Ewald. Ricardo already couldn't come because of that. Yeah? And we were signing the bank papers as much as possible. The other papers would have been sent around. And we were so lucky to get out of Munich again before I would have to
remember
stay
that.
here, maybe. Yeah, that was
like,
really
you left by train, and immediately
Yes.
after, it's like, all trains are done.
Yes. It was border
That was the last
closing,
one?
trains closing, everything's closing, and we just, we were lucky, because then that would have meant the delay would have been bigger again if we couldn't sign the stuff there. Or I don't know.
Man, that was an experience.
Yeah, and then we started the Waller sponsorship, officially announced in the Q&A 72, and we also have introduced Waller some Q&As before. So yeah, that was a great thing, because Waller Phone is actually a project that was done very quickly, and from our side, we had to invest a lot. But if you think about March and now it's December, and we basically made it in this time to get on board this device for people that want to buy it with an US pre-install. That's really cool. Not all the problems are solved, of course. It's not that everything is great, but for a community like us, that's a really huge thing to pull that off in a few months.
Yeah, and it wasn't the only one. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But Alfred, what happened in April?
Yeah, April. I mean, first and foremost, COVID stress was already taking its toll, and it showed. It really showed.
Yeah.
But there is one positive side to it, because the porting, at least from my experience, from what I've seen in the past, porting really took off. So people were starting to get interested in the project. So it's it's a two-sided coin. So that's the good part about it. The PinePhone UBports Community Edition pre-orders began. So just think about it was in April.
Yeah, right.
It feels so long ago, man.
Mhm.
The devices.ubuntutouch.io website got revamped and got its new database-driven backend, and
No, the database went away. That was the best
it
part
went
about
away,
it.
right? Exactly. Now it's composed of Markdown, basically.
Yeah.
And
That was big because it means that people can actually contribute to it now, which is
right.
so big for it.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, personally, I could really just see a few more devices put up there, just so you know. I really would appreciate it. But yeah. So the next one is OTA 12 was getting very close, so to
Yeah.
say. I mean,
We're
yeah.
6 months into it at this point. Yeah, we're getting close. Looking back on it now, it's like maybe Libertine shouldn't have slowed down OTA 12 that much. Because, I mean, the big
Oh,
thing was
yeah.
that Libertine didn't work right with the new mirror. So we spent a lot of time fixing those issues. Like, should we have really?
Also, I mean, a little secret right there. We also almost vendored in the Genie application because
That's right.
because it turns out the people test the Libertine functionality via almost always the same application, and so it turns out no, that did not fix it quite as well as we hoped, but in the end it did get fixed, or the actual issues went away.
Again, Rachanan did it.
Oh yeah, again, hats off to him.
And this was the release of the generic system image when that started to get big.
Exactly, yeah. Generic system image, for those that don't know, it allows porters to share much of the base Halion code across a bunch of devices. And it turns out that it really hit the spot. People are using it right now. People are using it to port their devices. And I mean, I personally would like to say thank you to Irfan and Nikita and all the others who I might have issues remembering right now. But just so you know, you are very appreciated, and everybody who worked on it really deserves a little thank you here and there.
Cookies.
And cookies.
It's Christmas time. Holiday.
Generic system cookies, please. Yeah.
Generic holiday cookies. Oh, okay.
They fit every taste on the planet. Oh my god.
That's an interesting idea. You might be an entrepreneur, Florian.
Oh.
Okay, let's speed run a few months here. Let's speed run a quarter. So in May, we started with OTA 12 was finally released halfway through May.
Whoa,
It was a
finally.
7-month chonker of a release.
Like that. Nice.
After being pushed 2 months from its originally announced release date. And it would have been more if not for Rachanan. Seriously. Came in clutch on that one. We finally finished the PinePhone factory image. Man, there were way too many all-nighters spent on that one, but, you know.
Oh, yeah. True.
Pre-orders opened. Oh, yes, many. Pre-orders opened for the Pine tab, and that one was shipping with Ubuntu Touch 2.
Another factory image incoming.
Yep. The Open Store was redesigned. It got a new layout that you still see today. I don't remember if that was when reviews got in, or if that was just the redesign that allowed for reviews to get in later. Apologies, but in other app news, the CBAS mobile code editor came back that month, and people were still asking when we were going to upgrade our Qt.
Please, when?
We moved right into June talking about some app development. Johnny joined us on Q&A 77. That one's definitely worth talking about because that was a huge treat. He talked about how Clickable was getting the ability to run an IDE straight from itself. So you could debug your apps way more easily straight from Clickable, giving us a more complete development environment for apps, really rounding out that development story for us. Oh, and the PinePhone shipped. That one was pretty big. That was this year? Yeah, that was this year, Fuse Team.
Sorry, I'm just picking random comments out of context.
Yeah, and in July, Jan asked for testers to help him test his structured testing app, which we now know as OpenCuts. Yo, dog, I heard you like testing. We started talking about OTA 13, talking about like what was happening with its UI upgrades, because this was about when Joanne started working on making the Suru Dark experience better, so that the dark mode in Ubuntu Touch got proper. Things started looking correct in the theme, and that's been ongoing work all the way throughout the year. Oh, and Philip and Furkan joined us on Q&A 80 to talk about Lomiri on Manjaro. Q&A 80. Q&A 80, July.
Ooh.
In August, highlight of my August was Florian first discusses Nexus 6P port.
Oh. Yeah. Wait a second. I should read that part because it was my Nexus C port. It's Nexus 6P port, which actually has now up to, I don't know, a few more than 2 handful of people using it. So it's not the most trending device, but at least I got into two-figure areas with it.
And there are people making YouTube videos about it. So
Really, I never saw one. Send me this if you have a YouTube video with my Nexus C port showcasing. I would love to see it, of course. Motivational factors. Pay me with YouTube videos. Anyways, Qt Web Engine 5.14 was added to Ubuntu Touch OTA 13. That wasn't
Why
released.
wasn't it released yet? That's just when I was looking back on this. It's like, why didn't you release that yet?
Yeah.
Why did you wait? What is wrong with me?
Well, and the Pinephone factory image was completed. And another factory
that's
image
why.
Completed. Oh, yeah. And then there was the nice finding that the PinePhone camera viewfinder could be accelerated, but it has a dependency on Qt 5.12. Is there something about Qt 5.12 earlier? Oh no, it's August already.
Yep.
Qt 5.12 when?
And now it's September already.
which is where the OTA 13 was actually released. So yay, it was about time. It happened. Lots of talk about 5.12 Qt version still, but nothing really, coming into fruition just yet. And the UBports installer learned how to unlock the bootloader on some new devices, and it had improved device detection support, which is what was that the one with detecting one?
This was 420. This was released 420.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, that did.
Remember the number. I really think we should still spam Jan with 420 jokes. That's just me. That's just.
I mean, that's kind of where it started gaining support for newer devices like this Pixel here that I've got in my hands.
Right.
Yeah. The UBports installer was a big success story throughout the year. Not only were we able to get more devices ported, but we were able to make it even easier for people to install them. And Snapcraft emails me about how many people are using the UBports installer like every 2 weeks, and it's significant. I'm proud for Jan about how well that's going.
Oh yeah, really.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So yeah, it's October now.
Right.
Now things speed up. Now we finally are really speeding up things, right?
I don't know if it was just people getting used to being locked down at this point. Finally people were starting to get it, or what was going on. I know that for Jan it was his classes finished up. But the UBports installer resumed its normal release candidate, and we started seeing more contributions from the community. The UBports installer has seen a lot of work in the past 3 months.
Oh yeah.
If you look at Jan's dependency diagram and compare it to one of his old ones, it's kind of crazy how much has changed. He's really doing a lot, and I hope that other projects take notice of these node modules that we're making and use them, because, man, there's a lot of work going into them. A lot of testing.
Oh yeah.
And another Jan project, OpenCuts, was revealed publicly in Q&A 86. OpenCuts is really cool. It is in a manual testing framework for anything. Software, it could probably be used for anything. But we're specifically using it to allow people to say, I downloaded this release of Ubuntu Touch. This works, this does not. We'd like to expand that further in the future. But for now, it's really using the UBports installer to great effect. It's possible for people to just report, hey, the installer didn't work for me, straight from the installer. And that telemetry, which is completely gated by the user, has been really helpful. Florian.
Yeah. So November. I was not sure if you're already finished with praising Jan and the Open Cuts page. November. OTF 14 was released. Now we are really speeding up. So Dalton, you were on a speech on the Linux App Summit about battery saving with Ubuntu Touch. Actually, brickless battery saving.
I had to plug it. I'm sorry. I was so proud of that talk. I had to plug it.
Sure.
It was a good
No,
talk.
that's an achievement. I mean, showing coming. These opportunities are not coming that often. So if somebody invites us, of course, we're gonna go there and try to push some of our ideas, either in a nice summit, conference, or interviews.
And
FX
there were
Tech.
even people like on the regular Linux desktop operating systems who were interested in it. It's an idea that's universal to all devices. It's convergent.
Convergent
you know.
idea. Yeah, that's nice. Another convergence thing. FX Tech Pro 1X was announced to be pre-installed with Ubuntu Touch, and it's on Indiegogo.
so
It's a
excited when this came out.
campaign. I think it already closed now, right? Yeah, a few days ago.
I believe you
And-
can still order them.
Yeah, but it's really that at least the early bird things are all gone. And the really amazing thing about it is that it's exactly that computer in your pocket idea, that you have something with characteristics of a mobile phone and a touch screen, but you can also unfold it, and then there's a keyboard, and then you can connect it to a HDMI.
it makes more sense like
and,
that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it might be not for. I have big fingers. I really want to try one to see if I can type fluently on it. Yeah, so I'm totally into that. But I really must say, there were things like Nokia Communicator that for older people like me, older, in terms of being from the pre-2000s internet era with modems and analog lines and dial-up stuff. Nokia Communicator was such a mind-blowing thing, and yet it wasn't on its time, and it was not the time for it, because some people bought it. I saw a few of them, and then it just died all the way. Yeah, and now we have smartphones in everybody's pocket. Everybody understands the concept of mobile computing, and then now we have this, a smartphone with an attached keyboard that you can use as a small computer. I think it's really great. Yeah.
I was down on the whole computer in your pocket thing earlier. This is where it makes more sense to me, having a device that has like a sensible form factor for both of its uses, as opposed to like plugging this 5-inch thing into this 23-inch thing. Like, why wouldn't you just use this 13-inch thing that's a laptop over here? That kind of deal.
Yeah.
This is where it makes sense to have apps that take advantage of that full keyboard. I don't want to sound like we're shilling to them too much, but I think this works.
Yeah.
I like this idea. And I also like the previous, revisions of this. Like we saw it with the Gemini and
Yeah. And actually, speaking
Credit
of
where
that,
credit's
because when we're talking about that, we should also mention that actually from Plant Computer, there is already the third device coming. And there are already ideas how we will support them with knowledge and abilities to bring Ubuntu Touch to the Planet Computers line of devices. So there is already a customer communicator, which basically can run it. The Gemini, I think Nikita has done some stuff also, but that never got released so far. And there is a third device. I forgot the name now. They announced this, or will announce this thingy. Oh, they already announced it on a also Indiegogo campaign or something like that. And that thing blows my mind because it will have an illuminated keyboard. So forget
Astro.
everything else. Astro, yeah. Illuminated keyboard on a small computer in your pocket. How cool is that? Yeah. So I'm
Thanks,
totally
Nikita.
into that. Yeah. So, and the UBports installer November gained the ability to report its results to Open Cuts automatically. So basically you can just say you want to report it. Of course, there's a consent by user. We're not automatically collecting this data, but if you like, you can just with a click of a button after you have installed, report the experience to us, and we get a feedback about if it was good or not. And if there is a pattern that certain amount of users on certain device have a big problem, then we can look into this more easily. Yep. And now it's December.
Hi, it's December. I don't
And
have
it's
any
not finished. The
retrospectives
year
for
is not
December.
over yet.
No. I mean, overall, we merged about 800 pull requests this year,
800.
not including translations.
Not, because they are automatic. But 800 individual contributions by...
Some of them huge, like this change to swiping tabs away in Morph browser.
Yeah.
So, like, just saying that number 800, for one thing, it's getting to the point where the brain is just like, that's a big number. I have nothing to compare that with. But it's also like all of them were different shapes and sizes, and it's been a big year.
And the smallest one that I approved, I think, was 1 character change PR. But it's also
Sometimes
still...
those one character changes are the most important.
Yeah.
Ask Popey about his one character change sometime. He's got a story about that.
But yeah, big or small, we merged them all. Oh my God, what I'm doing.
We merged the good ones. There are still
the good
a
ones,
lot.
of course.
To be fair, Rodney we had like 200 pull requests open at our peak this year, and he got it down to 100 this week. So
yes, thanks,
good
Rodney.
job.
Cleaning our house because we couldn't do it alone.
Yeah. And boy, that all ignored the releases of like the core apps or Notes, which was completely redesigned to ported to Qt Web Engine by Joanne. UNav got completely ported to Qt Web Engine from Oxide. Teleports saw so many releases. Like, we just completely glossed over all of that, and that took
And
so
there could
long.
have been more. There could have been actually more, but with all this Corona and pandemic things, I couldn't really rally the forces around teleports that much this year. So I think when everything gets better and people have their motivation again back, there will be even more. So I'm not 100% satisfied with teleports progress, but okay. Yeah, I have high goals.
Basically, considering everything, I feel really good about what we were able to do this year.
Yes.
But, of course, there are always places to improve. I guess we kind of need to run through this pretty quick. We're getting pretty long in the tooth with this episode, but... Specifically, we've got a lot more devices incoming right now. Like, a lot of Android 9 devices, especially with the GSI. And part of the problem is that you can't test the updater without having the device added to system image. But that also causes a problem because we're not tracking maintainership of things on system image terribly well. So, like, maintainerships of old ports is starting to become a problem, as is when we actually accept devices and announce them as, officially supported by the Ubuntu Touch team, kind of thing. Watch this space. Florian has been ranting to us about it, so I'm pretty sure something's going to change soon.
And yet still I'm silly enough to start new ports before the old ones are finished.
Yes, you are.
Just this one, for example, here flying by.
That's a OnePlus phone.
What? It's a OnePlus phone, but what OnePlus phone is it?
I have no idea, man.
Okay.
I mean, that's another thing that was kind of like a big story throughout the year. Our scope grew a lot. Our team didn't. Really. We've got a lot of big things coming up. A lot of things coming next. This move to Ubuntu 2004 that we talked about in the OTA 15 release notes is going to be hard. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of... We got to move to systemd. We've got to recompile all these applications. Actually, we might not need to recompile everything. We didn't break ABI this time, so that'll be nice. But boy, that's a lot of work to be done. And our commitments to packaging for other distributions are kind of starting to stretch us thin. We love everything that we're doing, but boy, there's a lot of it. So that kind of brings us to, like, what do we learn from this year? What do we want to change for next year? And part of the problem is that it was a genuinely difficult year for so many people, which makes talking about this kind of thing more difficult because, like, everything changed this year and everything's going to change again next year. At this point, what we have now is kind of a status quo, so going back to some semblance of normal, if we actually manage to do it within 2021 and not 2022, is going to be weird on its own. But we definitely know that we want to stop talking about things until they're either filed as a PR or merged in shipping. We talked about a lot of stuff this year. Some of it didn't come to fruition until way later after. And that's not always a bad thing, but sometimes people are waiting on it. And that's kind of a bad look.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about releasing smaller releases rather than big ones, and we probably talk about this every time, or every year. But OTA 12 was a 7-month release. It kind of had to be because there was no other way we were going to integrate it. But OTA 13 and 14 didn't need to take several months each. So on the flip side, we had a lot going on. This PinePhone and PineTab thing and all these devices shipping kind of blew us out of the water. So releasing smaller releases is way easier to do, realistically. It's easier to test, it's easier to do, and it's more fun because people see their work coming out more often. But it also puts a lot more workload on me. So I end up, you can really see this year when Dalton got stressed, things stopped happening correctly. That's both the case of we need to move those responsibilities so that more people can do them and actually get them done.
It shouldn't be one person pushed into the situation to have to coordinate everything, and I think
it always will be.
But
someone should be able to snap in.
But if you break it up in a little bit more logical structure, maybe we can distribute it in a bit better way. Let's, for example, say somebody does only security improvements or such things. I don't know if this is a mature idea, but if you group it by very, very high level topics that still don't create too much dependencies, that could work in a way. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and we've tried that. The problem has always been that our team size, because we tried to make all of those teams and steering committees and stuff before we had the teams for it, before we had the people, before we had people who could specialize.
That wasn't an organic idea to say, okay, we just have to have those centers of competence, that steering committees, that groups of people, and then we couldn't staff all of these functions in a proper way.
So it all fell onto Dalton and Marius, and all the dev fell onto Rachanan until we got Rodney this year, which just was so great.
Fresh blood.
It's difficult for me to put into words how much I appreciate our team and our community, but I guess that kind of brings us to the next thing that we need to do next year. Either we hire up or we scope down. Probably both.
It's time for looking in the glass ball. So whatever we say now, we are not committing to this entirely because it's a glass ball of forecasts.
Yeah.
Before the new year comes. Let's see. But, Dalton, what do you think what will come next?
Right. I mean, we can scope down, which is particularly hard due to the structure of the community. When we announce that something is going to go away, someone appears to take it up for a few weeks or a month, but oftentimes they then go away and we end up not actually scoping down in the end. It falls back onto us, which is both an interesting commentary on the state of all of open source, but also it's just an interesting fact of what we do. One thing I'm definitely looking forward to in the next year is taking care of myself and making sure that our team is taking care of themselves better. This whole burnout thing isn't fun. Right, Alfred?
Oh, yeah.
Not to oust you or anything, but man, think everyone's had at least one bout of that this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely need. I need to be watching what we're doing more closely, making sure that we aren't putting in too many hours. Especially our volunteers aren't putting in too many hours. That we aren't asking too much out of people, because, man, once you burn out on this stuff, it's really hard to get back in.
Yeah.
So, but there's absolutely no reason to end on a low note, especially for a year like this.
No.
You just can't do it. So, all these things that I've talked about, all these things that we learned from, we will resolve them, or we'll mitigate their impact, all in due time. It'll never be as fast as we want to do it, but these things, we'll learn from them and we will get them fixed up. We are talking about, particularly, we've had some troubles with keeping up contacts with news agencies, or Linux specific media. We've just had trouble keeping those up because the people who usually do that have been super busy this year. I don't want to oust any of them, but we've got one guy who's an IT operations manager at his job. Overtime isn't even a word to him anymore with everything that's been going on this year. And, he handled a lot of our news media relationships, and it's just been a busy year for people. So we're looking at bringing in a dedicated person for help with our marketing, with our public relations, actually getting this stuff out there so that people see that what we're doing is good work. We're doing it quickly.
I think that's one of the key things that developers are not so good with, to communicate what they're actually doing and to really put it into the right words and the right light at the right time, and putting it to the right people to receive it. So you need a little bit of experience there. You need to have a feeling for media, for marketing, for positive description of things. We always put the light under our chairs with that, as we say sometimes. It's a kind of German thing. I don't know if it exists in English like that. Don't put your light under your chair, just let it shine. And developers are kind of afraid of that in some way.
I've never heard that saying, but okay.
That's something that needs somebody who can really help us communicating better and regularly what we're doing, so that our things get heard. We're producing a lot of cool stuff, and be it, for example, that what we didn't cover in this monthly listing, that we are actually pushing all the Lomiri stuff now into Debian repositories for other people and distros to consume it. That's also something as a side project that we really don't speak much about, and it's so important. Those are these things that our marketing lacks sometimes, and we need to improve that. So for next OTA, let's see if we have already some details on that.
OTA 16 is including Qt 5.12 or else.
Q&A.
Q&A. More details.
OTA 16 includes Qt 5.12 or else. How much chances are on the words or else? Can I bet on something here? Can I win something with the right with the right forecast?
I'm fed up of pushing this off. Rodney's fed up of me pushing this off for him. We need to get it done. We need to get this stuff integrated.
Of course.
OTA 16 is also removing Oxide.
Okay,
Finally.
this is rather sure. I think we don't need any.
It already has.
Yeah, Devil Channel kind of has said goodbye already, right?
Yeah, and other things coming next year. That's the short term stuff. That's like January, February stuff.
Yeah.
I have dismissed our developer team for the last couple of weeks of the year, so don't expect too much happening in the last couple of weeks of the year. But
they have kind of a really Christmas holiday chance now. Let's see. The year was stressful enough for us.
We need to modernize our infrastructure. Our build server is still running Ubuntu 16.04.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
That might also be a reason for sending developers to holidays, because then you can work on the infrastructure without developers asking for the infrastructure.
I suppose.
Please, Jenkins, it's down. I cannot build. Go to holiday. We are just installing everything. When you're back, everything is new.
Take the day off. Yeah.
Take the week off. Yeah. But actually, we have new servers incoming. We already have ordered 3 servers. They're already here. We have 2 nodes for Android build for system image builds only. So we can build a ton of devices every day over the day or so to develop daily images for all the devices. Great.
I ported system image server from Python 4 or 3.4 to Python 3.8. So
Ooh.
I'm hoping to get system image moved soon. TM.
Yeah.
So that'll be running on 2004, and then it's working with our apps repositories, which that one I'm really not looking forward to. But that's still, it really needs to be done.
It needs to be done. So while we bring up our infrastructure to 2004, we will also bring up 2004 for the devices.
We have to.
We have to.
1604 is going out of support.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a hard ride. I'm sure.
A rough ride, a rocky road, whatever you call it, but well,
we've done
that's
everything.
what we're here for, right?
We've done a lot of things to make it easier at this point. Qt 512 is going to make it easier.
All
You
the
know, we've al-
Debian Manjaro things are probably going to help us out.
We're more ready than we were for the 1604 transition.
Right.
True.
It's still going to
That
be
was
hard.
kind of just taking what's there and see how it works, and now we really have to, how to say, do it the first time without the parents at Ubuntu and Canonical. They showed us how to do it, and now we're going to do it on our own. That's great.
Yep, and we're going to note we are going to continue releasing stable updates to 1604 devices. You know, they might come out slower, they might come out with fewer features, but we are going to continue shipping updates until 2004 is ready.
Yeah.
Which is something that we did not do with the 1504 to 1604 transition, leading to a year without updates. 8 months. That's almost a year. So, yeah. I mean, and that's
And that's it.
what we're looking into our crystal ball for next year. And looking back through our archives for this year. It's been a year for sure. Heading into 2021. I'm not going to make
It
any
will
big
be another
predictions
good
about
year.
this one because our
No.
2020 predictions ended up kind of salted. But yeah, I'm really happy with how everything's gone this year. You know, except for, you know, global world stuff. I'm happy with how things have gone for us,
Yeah. But I think,
especially considering.
and it's still a community thing that always amazes me, how people are grateful what we are doing. I get a lot of thank you and thanks in the last few months for this and for that and for OTA releases, and there's giving back from the users that are happy that we are still doing this. We didn't give up, because other community projects after 3-4 years like that, they fell just apart or vanished in some way or started to yell at each other, or we still try to pull all the ropes in the same direction somehow. Sometimes not always the same direction, but yeah,
Close enough.
close enough. So we have
Forward is one of the directions we're moving.
yes. But anyways, I think that's the thing. So we try to keep friendly and open-minded, and not just enforce our own beliefs, but try to be rational and fact-based about when we're doing something, and not just on doubts or ideas that we think are right. And yeah, it seems to work quite well. Yeah.
To be clear, Fuse Team, I did not say I was happy with COVID-19. I'm happy with how we progressed considering the situation that we were left in this year. Don't misconstrue my words, please.
And by the way, I'm totally into this suggestion, the UBports
UBports
cookie day.
Yeah.
We could
Last
make
week I
something
made
out of
350 cookies.
it. Oh no.
Are any of those Yumi shaped?
No.
Oh,
Oh,
we should.
true. We need a baking form with Yumi.
So
Let's see.
Wow, that was a heckin' chonker of an episode. And a heckin' chonker of a year, if I do say so myself. What the heck am I saying anymore? If you liked what we were talking about and you want to see if your device is supported, you can head over to devices.ubuntu-touch.io. And if yours isn't on the list, it's going to need a custom image made. But you can head over to our porting documentation at docs.ubports.com to learn more about that. Hopefully we see a lot more of that in the new year. Man, I didn't even mention the porting documentation getting updated this year.
Oh yeah.
All the changes being made. Nuts.
Next Q&A, what we forgot in last Q&A.
If you want to learn more about what we're working on, what we're doing, especially now as we head into the new year with some new help, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, PixelFed, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Instagram, or on Matrix or Telegram in their own dedicated news channels. You can find us at all those places, and they're all in the video description below. You can also chat with us if you prefer real-time communication over at Matrix at #UBports:/matrix.org or Telegram at UBports. If you want longer form content or you want to learn more about our plans for the next year, I'll be posting more about those, I'm sure, in the next few weeks. You can head over to forums.ubports.com. I'm deeply pleased with what we've done this year. Yeah. Thank you to Lucas. Lucas from Pine64 is here. Thank you too for all the opportunities that you gave us this year. You know, it's been real. It's been real. It's
True. That box says everything. No further words necessary.
this
Pulling
box
this off.
just.
Amazing.
I'm so proud that we did this.
Yes.
I'm so happy that you helped us do this. Thank you. All right, that's enough reminiscing for us for 1 year. We're skipping the next Q&A. We won't be here on January 2nd. We'll be back on January 16th. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season, and we will see you all in the next one.
Exactly.
Bye-bye.
Have a yummy.
Bye.
Bye.